After the break, a rise in TfL staff being abused, plus why this London comedian was in tears after her comedy show. Tonight, the ULEZ scrappage scheme gets bigger. Under pressure, the Mayor is extending grants of up to £2,000 to all Londoners with non-compliant cars. But is it too little, too late?
All this is going to do is bump up the price of second-hand cars. I mean, it's utterly ridiculous. He's just now having to throw money at a scheme that nobody wants.
Drive the bus, you pathetic job that you have.
Also on the programme, clocking on for a shift of abuse and aggression, a rise in assaults on transport staff. On borrowed time, the club fighting on in the face of financial ruin. And the comedian having the last laugh after just one person turned up to her one-woman show. Good evening. In the middle of a storm over his plans to expand the ultra-low emission zone, the Mayor has offered drivers a financial olive branch. Sadiq Khan says every Londoner with a polluting car will be able to receive a grant of up to £2,000, not just those on certain benefits. Scrappage payments for vans will also increase, and there will be more support for charities. The announcement follows weeks of growing political pressure around the controversial plans due to come in at the end of this month. But the Mayor's critics say it is too little, too late. Carolyn Sim has the story.
To drive home his commitment to ULEZ expansion, an electric bus was Sadiq Khan's backdrop of choice. Keen to get people on board with the scheme, the Mayor announced that scrappage grants will be increased and all Londoners with non-compliant vehicles will be eligible to apply.
My dad was a bus driver.
Sadiq says he's been listening to Londoners, but is this extra money more about Labour's loss at the Uxbridge by-election?
Let me be quite clear. The decision to expand the ULEZ was a very difficult one, not one I took lightly, but it's the right one. I'm not willing to delay, water down or step back on these vital health and green policies that are going to save lives, protect children's lungs and tackle the climate emergency.
So, from Monday, the 21st of August, a £2,000 scrappage grant can be applied for by every Londoner with a non-compliant car. From today, the grant for wheelchair-accessible vehicles goes up from £5,000 to £10,000. Small businesses and charities could now scrap vans for £7,000 and minibuses could be eligible for £9,000.
Good boy, come.
But the increase will make little difference for this charity, which sends mobile vets to care for the dogs of vulnerable people across London. Both its vans aren't ULEZ compliant, but replacing them would mean refitting expensive medical equipment as well.
Doesn't change a thing for us, I'm afraid. This vehicle is worth a lot more than £7,000. You know, it's all kitted out as a transporter. And our vet vehicle, to replace that and become ULEZ compliant and have it all retrofitted for the vet surgery that we provide, would be between £50,000 to £70,000.
It's fair to say that both Labour and Sadiq Khan's teams will be hoping that today's announcement will ease political pressure over the ULEZ. But with the expansion coming in just 25 days' time, will this extra money be enough?
All this is going to do is bump up the price of second-hand cars. I mean, it's utterly ridiculous. He's just now having to throw money at a scheme that nobody wants.
But the extra money is being welcomed by those who support ULEZ expansion for environmental reasons, like the charity London Disability Network, which has already scrapped one of its minibuses.
It's a win-win. It helps the environment and then we also get some money towards our minibuses. Making sure that we are a charity that actually really care about air pollution and about the environment really shows our members and they feel much better about using our services.
Whether Sadiq is panicking politically or listening to Londoners, one thing is clear, he is not backing down. ULEZ is happening and he hopes the grants will boost support. Carolyn Sim, ITV News.
There have been so many twists and turns to the expansion of the ULEZ. With the launch day approaching, I sat down with our political correspondent Simon Harris for a special episode of our podcast, What You Need to Know, where we answer some of the most frequently asked questions about ULEZ. It is well worth a listen. Go to itv.com/London to get there. Next tonight, imagine going to work every day and worrying about your safety. That is the reality for a number of TfL bus drivers and underground staff who face aggression, verbal and physical abuse on a daily basis. Figures obtained by ITV News London reveal violent incidents are increasing. Physical assaults are up by 10% in the last year alone. Cafo Pata has this exclusive report.
Night has fallen in London. As the capital wakes up for an evening of drinking and partying, staff on its transport network prepare themselves for another day of possible abuse. Sometimes it's verbal, sometimes things get physical.
Yeah, just drive the bus, you pathetic joker you have.
Videos like this show the ugly reality of working for Transport for London. The dangers staff face. Dangers which at times can be life-threatening. ITV News was given access to Stratford Station. We went behind the tube line, saw what enforcement officers see as they look for threats to both the public and their colleagues. That's a very thick vest you've got on there.
Yeah, it is. It's to protect us and protect the public.
Do you actually need it?
If I start telling you the stories, it will stay here. Tell me definitely, we do need it. Just recently at Piccadilly line in Turnpike Lane Station, we had to support our colleagues, RCIs, or revenue inspectors, with a very aggressive male who had a dangerous weapon, and that weapon was an actual firearm.
Figures obtained directly from TfL show that in the last year alone there have been 638 instances of physical abuse against bus drivers. A slightly higher number for underground staff, with 852 cases, all instigated and caused by the public. As a commuter, the risk to life in a job like this is rarely thought of. But for the frontline staff, it's something that weighs heavily on their minds.
Do you ever get scared during this job?
I mean, there's always that feeling, but the thing is, you always have the support of your colleagues, so it's something that you learn to deal with on a daily basis.
So, it's never 100% safety. Always when we're going on deployment, we have to consider our dynamic risk assessment. 100% is not the option. Is never the option, and can change from can change from 0 to 150.
Down by the station barriers, rush hour is fast approaching, and so come the fare evaders. When staff do their jobs and try to stop them, tensions flare. Much like in this case, it was fortunately resolved without conflict, but not all situations end like this.
The first and most important thing is the staff report it, and that we encourage that. If it's supplied with some body-worn video evidence, that is extremely beneficial to us. The police really get a lot of benefit from that.
While the staff may be encouraged to do this, we found that not every case goes up to the police.
Let's take Aldgate East, for example. There were 7 reports of physical abuse, but only 4 were reported to British Transport Police.
Right, so not all of those physical abuse reports will meet the threshold. So it could be a push and a shove, which is still unacceptable, but may not pass that threshold.
Kath, what else are TfL saying about this?
Well, Graham Daly, who you just heard from, he gave me a whole list of things that TfL are doing to create that safer working environment. Extra CCTV, more body-worn cameras for staff. Now, obviously, these things aren't a golden bullet, and as we've seen, the number of abuse, it's going up. The thing is, they do act as a deterrent, and staff have been telling me that if we have this body-worn cameras, then they'll feel safer. Unions have been saying the exact same thing, and maybe when TfL starts to introduce this across all of their stations, across all of their buses, then we'll see the number of violence going down.
Hopefully, yes. Kath, really striking numbers you obtained there. Thank you very much. 6 people thought to be victims of modern slavery have been rescued in Barnet. Cash, watches and a handgun were seized in 15 raids involving hundreds of officers in Romania and around Colindale early this morning. 5 people are being questioned on suspicion of human trafficking. Police believe the women were trafficked by men pretending to be their boyfriends and forced into prostitution here in the capital. Anjem Chowdhury will face trial for terror offences. The Islamist preacher was arrested at his home in Ilford last month. He's been charged with directing a terrorist organisation and speaking at its meetings. His trial will begin at Kingston Crown Court in May. No trains will run between London and Brighton tomorrow as strikes impact many services again. People attending Brighton Pride have been told to find a different way to travel there. The Gatwick Express isn't running tomorrow either, and other services will finish earlier than normal. It's due to a dispute between the unions and the government about pay and conditions. Next, a senior Met police officer accused of smoking cannabis daily tried to resign on the spot rather than take a drugs test, a tribunal has heard. Commander Julian Bennett helped draw up the force's anti-drugs strategy. Helen Keenan is at New Scotland Yard for us now. Helen, what's alleged to have happened when the officer was asked to take a test?
Well, this is day 5 of Commander Julian Bennett's misconduct hearing, where he's accused of using cannabis daily. And he is, as you say, the officer who was responsible for writing the Met's anti-drug strategy. Now, when he arrived in Southwark today to face accusations that he tried to stage a cover-up by refusing to take a drugs test and offering to resign instead. Now, the tribunal heard how he had asked to approach then Commissioner Cressida Dick, who he had previously referred to as Cress, to see if she would accept his resignation. Now, we know the request never actually reached the former commissioner, but the barrister representing the force asked if all officers got a hotline to the commissioner, with Commander Bennett replying he believed she would not engage with the ranks such as constable and that he was a senior officer who was closer to her. He was asked how is that not a cover-up or attempting to sweep something under the carpet, with Commander Bennett replying, you can't resign to avoid this, it would not have stopped the investigation. And that he was not acting in his own interests, he was instead acting on the Met's because he wanted to protect its reputation. Now, Commander Bennett denies all the allegations against him, and the tribunal will continue on the 12th of September.
Helen at New Scotland Yard, thank you. Well, the Home Office has withdrawn £31 million of funding for the Met after it failed to meet its recruitment target. Anna Geary is at the Home Office for us now. First of all, Anna, what was this money for?
Well, Duncan, this was government money, part of an uplift programme designed to be recruiting tens of thousands more police officers nationwide. And here in London, the Met was the only force in the country to miss its recruitment targets. And newly filed accounts have revealed that ministers have now taken away that £30.8 million pot of ring-fenced funding for 2022 and 2023. And this is particularly problematic as it follows days of reports to suggest that the Met could be 2,000 officers short by next year.
So what is the issue with the Met? I would say, one, they're in special measures. There's been scandal after scandal, and Londoners have totally lost trust and confidence. The decay of the Met has been going on for a number of years, but it's become more pronounced.
Well, the Met themselves have declined to comment, but a spokesperson from the Home Office said that they are providing more overall year-on-year funding, but for 2023 to 2024, the department said that the Met would get an extra £102 million. Now, Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, says it's deeply regrettable that the government have withdrawn money for 2022 to 2023. And he went on to say that the move is ill-judged, particularly in a cost of living crisis where he says it's having a very serious impact on levels of crime.
OK, thank you, Anna. Still to come on the programme, we'll have the weekend weather forecast, plus why this embarrassed comedian had the last laugh. But first, a football club's fight for survival. Southend United is facing huge debts and has even struggled to scrape together a squad for this season's National League. The club has been given 3 weeks to find £275,000 it owes the taxman or risk shutting down altogether. But despite all that, the team is determined to carry on, as Daniel Henry has been finding out.
Southend United are in trouble, and the fans know it.
What would it mean to you if the club were to have to go out of business?
Well, it's just everything really. It's sort of been part of my life for such a long time. It's just sad. It's going to make me cry.
The players and the manager are worried too.
It's been a challenge, obviously, and facing stuff that you don't expect to face. But you handle it, you just do the best you can, and I think that, without the staff, it becomes even more difficult. So to have good people around you, I think, makes a big difference.
It's a massive part of, obviously, this part of the world and the local community. Like I said, the passion from the fans is second to none, really.
Yeah, just brought it, for the grandson. Yeah?
Oh, how big's he then?
Nick has supported the Shrimpers since he was a teenager. He's trying to pass it on to his grandson, but he doesn't know if he'll be able to do that.
Are you worried about it?
Yeah, we're all worried about it. I mean, all the supporters, all the demonstrations that you've seen in the news and all the rest of it, we're all concerned because, obviously if it goes, what do you do from there?
The problem is, Southend United owe the taxman 275 grand, and if they can't find it by August 23rd, this club will go bust.
The potential that we've got as a football club.
Which is why some fans have got behind a campaign to push the current owner to sell up so the club can move on.
It makes you feel bad yourself for supporting this football club, and it should never be like that. You should never have to feel like that. You should be proud to support your football club, but it's difficult to be proud to support a club like Southend at the moment when the direction it's going and the way it's been conducting itself, thanks to our owner Ron Martin, is not good at all.
The club's problems on the pitch have been raised in Parliament too.
And the 117-year-old club's future is on a knife edge.
The local MP is doing what she can to get this sorted, and she told me that she's in regular contact with the owners.
You say that the owner has promised you that he's going to pay. Do you believe him?
He has paid previously, always at the last minute. But he has told me and Sir James Duddridge, he's also told the National League that he will pay HMRC.
The club say they're committed to clearing their debts and making this sale happen. The fans know the future of this football family depends on it. Daniel Henry, ITV News.
It's had a summer of concerts, but now Wembley Stadium is returning to focusing on football. 720 rolls of grass grown on a specialist turf farm have been transported to the ground. Arsenal face Manchester City in the Community Shield on Sunday. That's the first match to be played on the pitch. Our guest tonight has 8.1 million followers on TikTok, a huge following. But the whole concept was probably unthinkable when Conor Maynard last released an album of original work back in 2012. 8.1 million followers on TikTok. How did you get so big?
Well, I mean, TikTok, I only started a few years ago, and it's kind of daunting when a kind of new platform kind of comes out of seemingly nowhere.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's always a bit of like, I have a bit of a moment where I'm like, oh, this could be how it ends. This could be the one platform where all the youngsters just get it immediately, and I just can't get my head around it. But yeah, luckily I just uploaded content as I usually did with other platforms, and it just connected. So
well, your hunch was right. How does it help you with music then, in terms of reaching new audiences?
I would say currently TikTok is probably one of like the leaders in terms of just how much of a reach it can have and how much of an impact it can actually have with music. So I'll promote my music across every platform that I use, whether it be TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, etc., Facebook. There's so many different platforms that I'll use, and I feel like in the last maybe year or maybe a bit more, TikTok is definitely, like, you can see the correlation between if something works on TikTok, you can kind of see that, the streams go up, the views go up, etc. I feel like it's kind of the most instant one as of right now.
Well, that's more important now than ever because you've got a new album out.
Yes.
Let's have a listen to one of the songs. I think it's called How Am I? Here it is. I thought you were my So am I right in thinking this album, the songs, the videos, you did all this at home in London?
Yes, so I wrote all of it in my home studio with one of my close friends. He's a very talented producer named Brendan Buckley. And yeah, we kind of just made it all together. We made an entire album based off of a breakup that I had at the end of last year. And the title of the album is basically the time difference between myself and my ex. And we just kind of got working, and obviously it paid off, and very happy with kind of how it ended up sounding, definitely.
Yeah. You've had a long gap, more than a decade, since doing your last original work. What for you has changed in that time? Big question.
I mean, a lot. I feel like what's really funny is I noticed that you guys played the old thing first, and obviously then it cuts to me. I feel like I probably look a little bit older than I did in that video.
A smidge older.
In the world of music now, how much social media is utilised in music, and I think that was a kind of a weird shift to have to get used to. I also went from being signed to a major record label. I'm now independent, so that was a huge shift in my career. And just kind of became more hands-on. I think, you know, as I got older, I learned from a lot of people as I grew up, you know, very young in the early stages of my career. And then as I got a bit older, I kind of just thought to myself, I definitely want to take the reins a bit more.
You weren't chillaxing for the whole decade. You went to Broadway. You were in Kinky Boots, which is just fantastic.
Yes.
Would you like to do more musicals, maybe here in the West End?
I loved it. Listen, I enjoyed my experience so much. I think there's a video on my Instagram where I kind of get super emotional towards the end of my run, where I kind of say a big goodbye to the cast. And I loved it. It was such a challenge as well. I remember at first I didn't really think it was something I wanted to do, and it was actually Cyndi Lauper that convinced me to do it.
Are you just name-dropping Cyndi Lauper?
Well, yeah, I just want to let everyone know that I'm friends with Cyndi Lauper. To be fair, that was like the pinnacle of my career in terms of like what my mum thinks. Like, when I told her that I'd met Cyndi, that was the most impressed I think she's ever been.
Yeah.
For anything I've ever done.
That would do it, wouldn't it?
Exactly. So, but no, she wrote the music for Kinky Boots, so she kind of reached out and I was like, listen, I'll come and see the show and we'll make a final decision. And I was blown away. It was amazing. So, and I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it.
Any live performances on the cards?
Yes, I have a kind of a mini tour in Europe coming up. It's an open air tour, so kind of for the end of the summer. It starts in about 3 weeks actually. So I'm really looking forward to that. And we're going to Warsaw, Prague, Amsterdam, and Frankfurt. So that would be really cool. Yeah, what's coming up?
Wonderful. Wonderful to have you back, and thank you so much for coming in, Conor. Great to speak to you.
Thank you.
Cheers. Right, on to the weather now as we head into the weekend and hopefully a break in that rain. Here's the forecast now.
Whatever the weather, it always feels like home. Vaillant Heat Pumps and Boilers sponsor ITV London Weekend Weather.
Hello there. Well, safe to say there is a storm brewing. The Met Office have named Storm Anthony, the low pressure set to come across the UK as we head through tomorrow. It will bring a spell of wet and unseasonably windy weather for the first half of the weekend before hopefully something a little bit quieter around on Sunday. So here's that low pressure, Storm Anthony, rattling its way eastwards as we head through tomorrow. Quieter then through Sunday, but into the early part of the new week, remaining a little on the changeable side. Signs really from Wednesday onwards that things could turn a little bit quieter, but that is still a very long way off. Out there at the moment, we're looking at a largely dry night, some clear spells initially, but cloud building towards dawn and perhaps the first signs of a little rain moving in as well. The breeze picking up too, but another mild one. Temperatures for most of us hovering in the low to mid-teens. And then tomorrow morning, Storm Anthony really takes hold. We see a band of persistent and at times heavy rain swinging its way northeastwards, followed by plenty of showers, some of which could well be heavy, perhaps the odd rumble of thunder. And it will be a blustery sort of a day, especially so down towards the south of our patch. And as a result of all that, temperatures really struggling tomorrow, probably peaking in the high teens at best. But thankfully, Storm Anthony will work its way eastwards overnight into Sunday, and Sunday itself overall a much quieter day. You can see drier and brighter to start. The isobars really opening out, indicating those easing winds. As I said, into the new week remaining a little on the changeable side, but the emphasis on quieter weather on the whole, certainly a lot more in the way of dry weather. And could it be we'll see a sign of temperatures rising as the week wears on?
Vaillant Heat Pumps and Boilers sponsor ITV London Weekend Weather.
Now, it's pretty brave for any comedian to get on stage and try and make a bunch of strangers laugh. But one London actor at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival didn't even get the chance to raise a smile. Georgie Greer was left staring at a load of empty seats when just one person turned up to see her one-woman show. As Sharon Thomas reports, though, Georgie's fortunes may be about to change thanks to the support of some rather famous stand-ups.
Sunset is a one-woman play written by and performed by me. But will there be a happily ever after? That is the big question.
The answer is a not particularly funny no. Actress Georgie Greer shared a photo of herself crying on social media, saying that when she performed her one-woman play at the Fringe, just one person turned up.
Yeah, I just went along to see her and support her, and because I know it's really hard to bring sort of like for a woman to bring a solo show up, and yeah, it's an incredible achievement. So yeah, support it, like go girl power.
Georgie's outpouring of emotion led to words of comfort from celebrities who had similar experiences early in their own careers.
It's absolutely normal, for one person to rock up to your show, especially at the beginning of Edinburgh, and also for you to be a bit upset or annoyed. But you know what? You're on the path and it's just a start, that's all. And tomorrow will be better and next week will be better.
And fellow comedian Dara O'Brien said, "Soon you'll dine out on this anecdote. More than once I had to buy my audience a drink as a thank you for being the only ones there." The London-based actress and podcaster wrote and stars in Sunsets, about a woman fascinated by romantic comedies and hoping for her own, walking off into the sunset moment.
Madam, if you can take that cute little child and woohoo!
Georgie's up against it in Edinburgh. The Fringe is the largest arts festival in the world, with more than 3,000 shows to choose from this month. Around 2 million tickets have been sold for the Fringe. Georgie is back on stage again today, hoping at least a handful will be coming her way. Sharon Thomas, ITV News.
OK, laughing into the weekend now. Lucrezia is here next with the ITV Evening News. But from all of us on London, thank you for watching. We'll see you Monday. Bye-bye.